The Exterminator opened in 1999 in Kennywood, which was during a time when many parks across the United States were trying to keep up with Universal and Disney, at least in regards with creating narrative-based attractions. You know, the sort of thing that is a lot better, the whole experience, the whole package together. And I think that that's really interesting that this was Kennywood's approach, because it sort of showed their budgetary restraints, but also showed their intuitiveness in order to use that budget. And I think that this is just honestly like a great thing. Because here's the thing. While Kennywood is a great local park, and I think anybody with this as their home park should be happy and brag about it, I wouldn't say this park is like a destination. So for them to go out of the way and do all of this theming and world building for this ride, even for something that is a little on the nose for the type of ride it is. It's a wild mouse coaster and it's themed where you're the mouse or rat and it's the exterminator. Even though that's a little bit on the nose, I think that it was just a good choice. But most importantly, I wanted to use this time to talk about how this ride sort of makes the whole park better and slightly worse. I could talk about this ride specifically, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about how it seemed like Kennywood was chasing that and they succeeded, and then they just let it go. This ride is so great in the sense of it really creates that atmosphere while you're inside, that this is your whole life basically, and everything outside just sort of blends away. But then when you exit this queue, you have a bunch of other queues that are just, I don't know, on a cement block, on a cement platform. I don't know, it just doesn't feel the same. And that leads me into my next point, that Kennywood and a lot of these regional parks seem to create experiences that can be great, but there is no regard for the overall story and narrative that the park holds, which leads me into my next ride. Ghostwood Estate came to the park in 2008, and it's another example of just a great overall experience that doesn't really consider the whole park. It's just a good narrative-driven experience. Now, one thing I do have to mention is that when I was there recently, the operations was anything but smooth for this ride. The wait time was insane. I think I waited for like over an hour, and that's because the ride kept having issues, and the way that they were letting people in was just, it wasn't very efficient. Anyway, that's besides the point. This ride is just great. Like I said about the previous ride, I know that's how I describe a lot of rides, but the pre-show really adds a lot to what it's doing. So if you're unfamiliar, this is a shooting dark ride, and this pre-show sets up that you're trying to get all of the ghosts out for this guy because he built this house for himself to stay in as a ghost. And there's too many other ghosts, and it's causing him quite the bother. So he explains that also, and this is a very important tidbit, that you're not actually shooting the ghost. You're not straight up murdering them twice to kill them again. You are shooting the things around them to expose them so they have to leave. And this ride is phenomenal. You board the vehicle and you go into these various sets that are designed in a way. Now, hold on, be with me here. They're designed in a way that makes you feel like somebody designed them. And while I know that's, obvious, it feels like this is like an artwork that somebody designed for this. A lot of these type of rides feel like they just went to like Costume City or something and just filled up a room with a bunch of props from, like a clearance Halloween section. But that's not this ride. You zoom along your track and you shoot the different effects. A lot of them, at least when I was there, was working great. And it causes some great kinetic feedback to you, and it allows you to build your score up. It's just a fun time. And when you compare this ride with the rides next to it, again, the theming of this ride had a very close vision, but the way that it fits in with the surrounding park is, like I said in the previous ride, jarring. The other thing that this ride had going for it is that those sets are so intricate that it encourages multiple ride throughs. Sometimes I just wanted to ride this ride and just look around at everything and how it's set up. And there's a lot of different like narrative beats that you can find in pretty much every scene. The ride itself is a good speed too. It's not too long or too short. It's just, like I said, an overall good experience. So while the queue and the ride and the exit and the overall experience is just great, the way that this ride does not account for the rest of the park is way more obvious in this ride than, say, like Exterminator, because one of the coasters, Thunderbolt, comes right over where you're standing in line for it, and it sort of runs along the roof of the show building. So when you're inside this ride, you can hear that coaster every few minutes come through, and that's, that is a great ride, Thunderbolt, but it is by far like the most jarring experience where you're really immersed into this. So when you're in line, every few minutes you hear the coaster go by. When you're in the pre-show, you hear the coaster go by. When you're actually in the show, you hear the coaster go by. It is incredibly jarring. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. My aim for this channel is to make a little more informative content rather than opinionated, but I had some pretty strong opinions about these rides, and I wanted to sort of put pen to paper, so to speak, or I guess clips to video. Anyway, again, thank you for watching. I appreciate you a lot. I'll see you in the next one.